Hi, it's Heather here from South Africa. Thank you for joining me on my new YouTube channel. Today I want to do an experiment on Australian Floetrol and what ratio to paint you use. I hear many other artists say they use 1 part paint to 3 parts Floetrol. I've even heard of 1:1, 1:4. So I thought, let me do an experiment. So I chose the Amsterdam Permanent Red Violet. It is a transparent paint. Normally you use opaque, but I thought, let me try the transparent, so it's like a double experiment. So I have put my Australian Floetrol in a smaller container. Always shake it very well. And what I do is I put the Floetrol in first. It just makes it easier to mix, putting 1 part in and then adding your paint, mixing it, and then if you need to add the other parts of the Floetrol, you do that later. It just seems to mix a little bit better. Don't worry about my measurements there. I'm just slightly over on my Floetrol. But it was like a drop extra. And then you make sure you stir it very, very well. You'll soon see when the white isn't there. So give it a good mix. It's quite thick, that consistency. I personally use 1 part paint to 3 parts Australian Floetrol. I find that gives me great results, but as I say, we're experimenting here. So here you can see where I've made up all 4. The first one being 1:1, very thick. This one that I'm showing you now is 1:2, and then that is 1:3. It's quite runny, but as I said, that's the normal what I use. And then this is the 1:4, which you can see is very, very runny. I'm sure you can notice that there's quite a difference in the colors as well. We'll see in our experiment if that changes. I have some coasters which I'm going to do the experiment on. I'm putting my pillow paint down. I also mix up my pillow paint and then put it in little squeeze bottles to just make it a little bit easier. You don't have to cover the coaster completely when you're doing your swipe, but try and get it around the sides as much as possible, and use this time to also look for any hairs or funny little gloomy bits that have got into your paint, or bubbles as well. It's good to get it out now before you spin it. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to swipe with the different ratios, and we'll look at the wet and the dry results together and come to some kind of conclusion, what works, what doesn't work. I'm keeping it very plain, so it's very simple to see the results that we get. I'm working on a Lazy Susan, which is very lazy, so I don't use it to spin, I use it to work on. And it's just covered with stuff. You can see there is paint on top of it. And that just peels off because it's... Okay, there's my palette knife, which I love. It must be clean. And then you just place your paint onto the back of your palette knife. And that's what we're going to use. Remember, that's paint with the Australian Floetrol 1:1. Remember not to press too hard. You just want to glide the palette knife across the paint. can see it's beautiful color, but watch how quickly the paint sinks into the pillar, revealing beautiful cells, which is what we all want from the Australian Floetrol. So I have prepared some other tiles with the pillar paint already on it. I'm just cleaning my palette knife. Remember, whenever you swipe, you want to have a clean palette knife. So on the second one, I'm just marking the numbers, you know, like that would be 2, being 2 parts of Australian Floetrol to the Amsterdam paint. And try and cover your palette knife evenly to give you the most accurate results. So this is the 2 parts Australian Floetrol to the 1 part Amsterdam paint. That's lovely color. But again, you can still see the first one on the screen. Look how much the colors disappeared on that one. Again, I'm just cleaning my palette knife, ready for our next one. Marking the coaster. My coasters do have tape at the back to protect them from getting too much paint on them. Easier to clean. So we're now going to do the 3-to-1. And as I said, this is what I normally use. Not normally a transparent Amsterdam, but for the black and whites that we always use. And I get great results from this. And now we're going to do the 4-to-1. The color looks quite a lot lighter there. But let's see how it goes when we actually do the swipe. Wow, that is very, very thin. I'm even struggling to get it on my palette knife. But an experiment is an experiment, and we do what we need to do. So there you can see the different swipes through the different ratios. And I'm going to give it a spin. I use a different spinner because, as I said, my Lazy Susan is very lazy. So I have a cake spinner here. You'll notice a lot of paint on my spinner. It actually helps if you have paint on your spinner to hold the towel that you're spinning or the coaster that you're spinning, not to spin off. What I'm doing now is I'm just moving my coaster where I want the paint to come off, because I do want the paint to go down the sides of the coaster so that it looks finished off. If there are any like bald spots, I'll add a bit of paint. I don't normally have a lot of spin off because I don't put too much pillow paint down. Paints are expensive, even if it's only house paint that you're buying, so let's not waste. I do also keep any of my paints that I scrape up into a jar, or actually old yogurt container, and I dump it in that bucket. Then I mix it all up, thin it out a bit if necessary, and then strain it to get all the hard bits and hair and whatever's in there. And then I can use that as a pillow paint in future. Remember, your pillow paint is just to allow your paint to move across. So I'm now happy with that. I put it on another container to dry, because I will only give you the dry results roughly 12 to 24 hours after I do it. I'm not going to spin all of them here for you. You've got the idea of how spinning works. There's my bucket that I put my stuff in. And as I say, when you've got a bit of damp paint, it does help you for when you're spinning your next coaster, that it doesn't go flying off. And every now and again I just pull everything off. Okay, here's our wet and dry results. So on the left is your wet, and on the right is the dry result. You can see there's quite a difference in them. Which one do you prefer? I definitely don't like the 4-to-1. I find it's not strong cells. But the 1-to-1 is fine. Very, very defined cells. The 2-to-1 is great as well. 2 parts Floetrol. I think I'll still carry on using the 3-to-1. But it was nice to do this experiment to see, what it's all about, how it looks. Let me know what you think in the comments. And thank you so much for joining me.